Wemden zamden kesum buwem komar wadas sana doi we sinyonya patkuya nyamo hutra yin. We need to be very, very careful, especially when we lose our identity. There won't be no more services for us. Well, just like the non-Indian out there.
So thank you for joining me. My name is Lena, and I'm from the Fort Yuma Quetzal tribe and your host on the Rezzilient podcast. Joining me today is the Indigenous Yoga goddess herself, Haley Laughter. Thank you, and welcome.
Yat Haley Laughter, Yanishne, Bakatni, Yanishne, Total Chitney, Bashishi, the Beth Legene, A Dasha Che, and Tut Chitney, A Dasha Nale. So I am Navajo Diné. I reside in Gallup, New Mexico. I have 4 children, and I also own Hozho Total Wellness.
I'm very happy that you accepted my invitation, Miss Laughter.
Thank you, Akehet, for inviting me. I'm really honored to be on this podcast.
I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about what got you started into yoga. Like what brought you into this?
Well, when I was about 28, I took my first hot yoga class, which was the Bikram method. And it was really challenging, really hard. If you're not familiar with Bikram yoga, it's a yoga class that they raise the temperature up to 105 with about 45% humidity. And it's a 90-minute class. It's always the same. So it's called the 26 and 2. It never changes wherever you go to a Bikram yoga class. It's always going to be the same. So it was really challenging because I was out of shape. I was running, but I didn't have the type of shape that yoga has. Like I wasn't in shape, yoga shape, I should say, yoga fit. And so I really struggled the first class with balancing with my flexibility. And I saw in the first row like these 50, 60-year-old women who were so flexible, so strong, and holding these asanas. And I was like, I want to be like that. So I then began practicing regularly. And then it became where I was practicing between 4 to 5 times a week. And it was more of just like a challenge. It was more of wanting to better myself, or in my mind, being able to stretch and being able to hold the asana, being able to perfect it.
And I'm very familiar with the Bikram yoga. That was the only yoga that I've ever really done, and it totally changed my life. I mean, I haven't done yoga for like some years now, but when I did it, I felt so amazing. I mean, you had to drink like literally like a gallon of water a day. I feel, yeah, so and then I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to drink all this, but you really need it because when you go in those classes, like you sweat everything out. Like you're sweating your sins out, basically.
Right. And exactly. That is so true. And the reason why I was so drawn to it, it became a cleansing. As I evolved in my practice, at first it was like ego. I want to do this because I want to be able to do
Yeah.
a bow. I want to be able to stretch like those women. I want to be able to hold the asana. As my practice evolved, it became cleansing to me. Sweating,
Very, very.
allowing those toxins to release. Not only that, but releasing what I call the issues in the tissues. And it became more about healing myself from the inside out. So my practice evolved through the more that I went and the longer I practiced, it evolved to more of a healing. And I always look at, when I teach or practice yoga, it's always a ceremony to me.
No, and I totally respect that you just said that because that's exactly what you're doing to your body. You're holding a ceremony within yourself and you're excreting all of these toxic things that you've ever like from the week. I felt like it just released everything in me. And as soon as I walked out, my clothes were drenched, my skin was glowing, I never felt better. And it was addicting. It really was. I'm not a small woman, and I lost so much weight. So little by little I'm getting myself back into it, and the I'll shortly be going to like one of the studios here But I would have loved to have somewhere here that's an indigenous space for women to go to that had this type of yoga. I mean, and there's so many different ones, right? That you can join. There's so many different types and styles of yoga. Is that right?
This is true. Yeah, there's all different.
I don't have weights at home or anything like that. And now that YouTube is so popular, internet is in demand and we all have to have it. I can go on YouTube and I can find any type of yoga or any type of exercise that I want and I can do it right from home. And when I first started following you, it it was kind of I just happened to find you by chance and I was like, wow, there's this woman that is doing yoga. She's native and she's she's got her shit together. Like I could never pose because I have the worst balance in the entire world. I cannot balance for the life of me. And so when I see your poses and you're just so like perfect, I was like, wow, I want to be that. Because right now my yoga pants have never seen a light of day in a gym or in a yoga studio.
I hear you. I mean, I'm at the. I mean, it's always an ebb and flow. I mean, you're going to be into it, and then you're gonna, not go to yoga, but then you're going to be gung ho, just like doing weights or what have you.
Yeah.
And one of the my passions about being indigenous and getting yoga out there is breaking those barriers down. When I first started teaching, or excuse me, getting yoga out into the Native American community, I started posting on Healthy Active Natives with Waylon Pahona is the who founded that. Healthy Active Natives has got like 80,000 plus followers on there.
Oh
But
wow.
before, it was just like maybe 15. You know what I mean? Or maybe 3. It was like really small at that point.
Uh-huh.
And I started posting pictures of me in my Navajo bun, my CAs, and my moccasins. And I got a lot of good feedback. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know that natives practice yoga. I thought
Yeah,
you
and yoga in moccasins for that.
had."
And
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, I'm doing yoga in my moccasins. Here you are in your face. And that's a staple. And I love that you do that.
yeah. And then and I also got the feedback of you have to be a tall, skinny white woman in order to practice yoga. You
Nah.
know, or I can't stretch. All these different things. So it's breaking that barrier down. The barriers down by when they see a Native American practice yoga, we can identify with it. I can do that too. And so that was part of my mission also. Through that, it just grew and grew and grew and grew.
Did you grow up on the reservation?
No, I'm actually a city Indian. I grew up in Salt
Your
Lake City.
city?
Uh-huh. Well, that's a good question. Actually, so I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. My parents were my mom was in the Mormon placement program, and my dad was in the boarding school system at the age of 11.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they met at Brigham, um, in Brigham at a school dance, and they decided to raise their family in Sandy, Utah, which is in the outskirts of Salt Lake, right? And so um, through that, this is part of my journey. Also, is I grew up with alcoholic parents, with domestic violence. I grew up with all the hardships that there are here on the reservation, despite that I was in the city and my parents
Yeah, the
didn't.
trauma traveled, basically. That's what it is. I mean, we all can relate to that, or a huge part of us can.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where part of my healing came, because when I got my yoga certification, my first one, I moved down to Gallup, New Mexico, which is just on the outskirts of the Navajo reservation. It's checkerboard, and I really then discovered how historical trauma played in my life, how it how how I became who I was because of this trauma, and also understanding it on a bigger scale, that my people are suffering from this. Every Native American is has somebody who's an alcoholic, who's an addict, who is suffering, and so that's when I decided to create the yoga movement. Is because I wanted people to have a source that not was just exercise, but was also a spiritual journey for them. self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-love, self-awareness. Every type of awareness that we have within ourselves, it starts inside. So if we want to be a better person, we have to start inside within ourselves, healing ourselves, acknowledging ourselves, the good and the bad.
And I'm really glad that you brought that up because I feel, and let me know what you think about this. I feel that because some of us are raised in a lot of those traumatic experience with drug addictive parents, alcoholism in our families, whether it's our parents, aunties, uncles. There's a lot of things happen that get swept under the rug. Kids are molested. There's all these different types of things that are incorporated into different people's traumatic pasts. But what I'm trying to get as when we're older, people bring that with them and they think that's just exactly how they have to be for the rest of their life. And what I found is that you don't. I came from a very broken family growing up, and we didn't have a lot. We were literally dirt poor. Like we had to walk across the street to my uncle's house to ask for, some bread and bologna to feed 6 kids at sometimes. And just remembering those types of stories from my past, when I grew up, I was like, I don't have to be like this. I don't have to take this with me. Like, what else can I do to help heal myself with it? Help heal me so that I don't project this onto anybody else, or that I don't project it onto my own nieces and nephews and what have you. So, do you think that we can change, or we can begin to change by healing ourselves with something like being active in yoga, or just, going to some sort, being active in a gym, basketball, anything? Do you think that's a way of healing?
Well, you're never too late, too old, never too late to change. You can always make that conscious decision to make a change. And that's the reason why I love yoga is because it allows you to move, to create movement, and to create the flexibility in the mind and the body. So if you allow the body to open up in areas that's never opened up before, you tend to correlate that with the mind and the thinking and the way that you do things and noticing patterns that you have. And everybody has the choice to make different decisions. Everybody has the choice to change. And yes, I believe you can change at any time. You can break those cycles. You can change the way that you think. Meditation is so powerful. Yoga is a moving meditation, hatha yoga, and a
And
lot.
is that the type of yoga that you practice?
Yes, hatha yoga is physical movement yoga, and it's considered a moving meditation. And so you're focusing on the breath as you're moving the body. Um, and then also savasana, the final savasana or shavasana, it's when you lie down, you meditate. The body's exhausted, you can clear the mind. Meditation is so powerful. We can literally change the way that we think, the way that we do things through visualizing, through creating that energy within us and changing the mindset that we have. You have to go deep into the subconscious to do that, and that's how you do it, through meditation.
Yeah, you really have to dig deep.
Yeah, and it's they say like yoga comes from India, but our ancestors here were the original yogis on this side of the world.
And what do
And
you mean by that?
I mean by that is that their life was simple. They had to make friends with the elements. They rose with the sun. They went to sleep with the sun. They tended to their animals. They tended to their family, their food. Everything was made from earth. There was an appreciation for Mother Earth. There was an appreciation for the elements. There was acknowledgement of it. Not only that, but they understood that we coexist with all these elements too. And that's the same philosophies and concepts that the yoga from India has also. We also use ceremony. Ceremony is something that we use to create equilibrium, to create wellness within us, to change the mindset, to change the energy that's around us, to cleanse us. That's also something that we practice here on this side of the world. And so that's what makes me, I should say, makes HTW, my business, so unique, is that I incorporate these teachings into my yoga class, into what I'm doing, is correlating these two together. The India Yoga, Native American, Indigenous, Navajo Nation philosophy, and creating that existence and awareness that we coexist with all these elements, and that we can shift, we can change. There's no limit, really. The only limit that we put on ourselves is what our mind limits us to think. The mind can be your best friend, and it can be your worst enemy. And it will tell you a lot of different things, like I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too rich, I'm too poor, I'm too tall, I'm too beautiful, I'm too ugly. It will replay different stories that were traumatic for yourself, within your life or your childhood. And then that becomes what we manifest, what we exist in. And so retraining the mind, but through disciplining the body, through acknowledging the body, and understanding that we coexist with everything that happens, all the physical elements that we survive in. That's part of consciousness, awareness, and healing, and it's part of who we are innately as Native Indigenous people. We innately know that we coexist with the element, with Mother Earth. That there's a greater being. There's a greater power. That God, Dean, whoever you believe in, there's always something greater, and there's an appreciation for that.
And is that how you came up with decolonizing your body? Is that the full meaning to you?
Yeah, it is, because we have to work through the body and the mind in order to heal and tell ourselves different stories. Everything coexists together, and everything is interconnected. And so change starts within us. It starts within our body. It starts within the way that we shift our energy, our awareness, our spirit, and our soul.
Wow, that is very powerful. And thank you for dropping that knowledge right there.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I'm really passionate.
No, that was great. That was great. I mean, I think at some point in time, we all need to hear this. If it's not coming from your family members, friends, relatives, someone needs to hear this out there. So wherever you're getting your messages from, whether it's like social media or somebody that you just meet on a random, I think that at some point in time we meet somebody that actually brings something out of us where we can acknowledge ourselves, or they give us a way of teaching ourselves something new to heal ourselves with. And I think that's what you're bringing with yoga and your whole wellness movement. So, and I love that you had said earlier that, I mean, you don't have to be white. You don't even have to own a pair of yoga pants. And you don't have to be skinny to do yoga at all.
You come to a yoga studio, right?
Yeah, just get your shy ass off the couch and go.
Exactly.
Go, yeah. Go start liking some pictures, message them, and just figure it out. Go heal yourself. So I love that.
Yeah.
I just think you're so funny. Like your two pages are totally different. So your IG page, I mean, and by the way, I love your new logo.
Oh, do you think?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. It's so awesome. But yeah, your pages are kind of different. So your Instagram page is kind of more business, but then you have your Facebook page where you're just talking shit all day. All your memes are so funny. One of my favorite ones is one you just posted not too long ago. It was like when the tortilla is burning
Oh yeah,
with the Grinch.
I know it's so, but yeah, I'm actually a really fun, light-hearted, sarcastic person, and I just enjoy making people laugh. And a lot of people get my humor. Sometimes people don't, but that's okay.
Yeah, you're not for everybody. Who cares? Like
Yeah,
if you don't like it, move on, delete me, go find somebody else that's boring to follow.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so Instagram is definitely more business, and it's more like people like the visual of, what you post on there, and they go through and they kind of see like a concept or a theme, right? But with Facebook, you can just post up as many as you want, and people, it's not, it just goes through the feed. It's not like your whole page. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does, and I think that's the same thing with a lot of people. Like they have a certain type of content on their Instagram because they want like a theme. In my stories that I post, like I just post random things, a lot more positive these days. But there's some funny things out there that I post as well. But yeah, everything can be totally different. So, but I love how you're so funny. Like you just share just random things on there, and it just shows like a different side of you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I think Facebook's probably more of my personality.
Yeah, and it just lets people know that, hey, like you're just a person as well. Like just come talk to me, find out what, or ask me questions. Like you're there. You're just a human being. So I think a lot of people get intimidated by people, especially if they have a lot of followers or if they're doing, if you have a business, they're really intimidated about reaching out and just asking a question. So
Yeah, that's so
uh
true. That's what I tried. I in the future I plan to make Instagram a little bit more interactive with the audience because I want them to see that side also. I've been going through like a skin condition lately, and it really put me into a situation where I had to like, okay, Haley, like you got to move forward no matter what. So it's
and
more of
what's that? May I ask? What's going on?
well, I just I went to Florida like 2 years ago, and I started breaking out in like these rashes on my body, and these like cysts underneath my skin, and so it's been really what it it's been really humbling. I try to look at the positive because it actually is right now. It's on my nose. So I have this big red, like two red spots on my nose, and the skin's
Mhm.
kind of soft, and I have scarring now on my face from this, and it's been really I went through a depression because you're promoting health and wellness, and here you are with like these cysts and these sores on your face, these weird sores that don't heal on your body. And so I went through a depression, and I just felt overwhelmed, and literally I had to pull my mind out of it and decide I was going to move forward no matter what. And I've been showing up and doing what I need to. And it's been really a good journey for me because it humbled me. It humbled me, and it showed me what is most important is taking action rather than just putting like a facade out there. You know what I mean? Being genuine. Not that I wasn't before that person. It just took me to a deeper level of awareness, consciousness, and compassion. And so I'm taking the lessons from this, and I'm just trying to be as positive as possible, and just knowing that it's going to be resolved through me moving forward, healing myself, and through God, Creator.
Wow, yeah, I hope that, this whatever you're going through, like you in a heal pretty fast. I mean, that has to be hard, and going through a depression is not fun. It's not easy at all. But the people that are out here that still love you and support you, they're not going to go anywhere. And you're still showing up and you're doing the work despite what you're going through, and that just shows that you you're amazing. You're taking it, within yourself, and you're just finding a way to, like you said, like to move forward. And I know we had a discussion earlier right before we started. Is this one of the reasons why you're getting into making your kombucha?
Yeah. So I am super excited about offering kombucha. I just bought my first kegerator, and I'm just going to start offering it at the flea market here and there, see how it goes in this area, and then start producing my own. Right now, I'm doing it from a third party, and just buying the kombucha. It's so good, especially when it's fresh, and being able to get it out there, because a lot of people in this area don't know what kombucha is or they never had it. And so being able to offer it's going to be really amazing. So I'm super excited about the benefits. I'm super natural. I love, healing myself through natural remedies. Not a lot of medication or antibiotics. Not that you shouldn't, but that I'm trying to do the best that I can and heal myself.
For yourself, yeah, because everybody is not the same. So have you found that that your body has changed since you have been drinking this kombucha?
Well, I would say that my body has shifted because I decided I wasn't going to give up. Because I decided that I was going to show up, that I wasn't going to let this stop me, and that I still have work to do. And the kombucha was just another opportunity, another door opening because I shifted my energy, because I shifted my thinking, because I decided to not give up and being able to open up those doors energetically that there's something else waiting. So yeah, and I believe like as far as like telling my story with the illness is, you know, if you're suffering from depression, it's okay. It's
It
okay
is,
to
yeah.
say, I'm
There's
sad.
help out there.
Yeah, no, yeah, and it's okay to express yourself. I'm sad. I'm going through this. I'm dealing with this. I'm struggling with that. I think that, we with social media and all like what society tells us is that we have to be beautiful, we have to be skinny, we have to be this certain type in order to be accepted. And that's not true because that's a facade that society, that social media, that you know,
Not everybody can be a photoshopped
right.
picture on a magazine, honey.
Yeah, exactly. So, like owning your truth and saying this is who I am is what helps people connect and also helps heal other people is by telling your story. And so I did do that on Facebook Live. I let everybody know what's going on, been keeping them updated, and it's really helped. I had so much support and so much, good energy from that, and people saying thank you for sharing this story because I have something similar, and so that's been really healing too. And the kombucha is just an effect or an energy or energetic, I should say, by opening up the doors, my heart, and allowing myself to accept this, it allowed for more opportunity to come out. And I love kombucha. I love what it does for you. I love it.
So Haley, so we talked about you being a city Indian and your whole journey as far as like you getting into yoga. Like what inspired you? Like what was the day like where you said, "Hey, I'm going to get up and this is what I'm going to do." What was that day like and what was the aha moment?
Well, I had been practicing yoga for about a good 6 months at the Bikram Yoga studio in Salt Lake City. And I was going through a breakup with my partner. We had 3 kids together, and I had one previous. So for a family and 4 kids, and we had the home, the car. Everything was. We had everything that we needed, and I was going through a breakup, and I believe it's because I wanted like more connection with who I am. I wanted to understand who I was, who Haley is, and so I started on like more of a spiritual journey and spiritual questions. And as we went through this breakup, he moved out, and there was this point when I was drinking in order to calm myself, in order to go to sleep. I was drinking shots of Jaeger, hardcore, and there was
So kind of falling back into what you seen as a child.
exactly. It started to become like something that I was like, whoa, I'm doing this every night. And there was one night when I just decided I don't want to do this. I don't want to create that cycle. I don't want to um, depend on something that's unhealthy and that created the pain in my life. And
Well,
so,
what was it? Were you drunk? Did you,
yeah,
like,
no,
what happened? Were you driving? What was it? Were you at a bar? Were you at your house?
I was actually in my home and I had just finished a bottle, and I wanted to go get more. And that was when I was like, whoa, like that was, I was buzzed and I was like, I wanted to go get more alcohol. And I'd never purchased alcohol in my life, right? It was just during this time that I kind of created that habit. And then I was like, whoa, what am I doing here? I can make a decision right now to stop this, or I can continue this and let it get out of hand. And that was the moment that I decided that I was never going to go into the liquor store and buy a bottle. The bottle was there because my partner did drink, and so but I finished out a whole bottle, actually two bottles, and so it was just like um, it was really just a moment where I decided that I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to create that cycle. And I decided to put my energy into my yoga practice. And that's where it led me to practicing anywhere between 5 to 6 times a week. Just practicing yoga in the hot room and sweating it out, allowing my energy to shift into something different, putting that energy somewhere else, whether that's positive rather than something that's destructive for not only me, but also for my children too. And so through that journey and discovering myself and who I am, I realized how historical trauma played into my life, into my pain, into my this feeling of inside of me that I wasn't good enough. This feeling inside of me that like this hole that said that other people were better than me, and this feeling of being inadequate. And I started realizing how it played into my life. My dad recently stopped drinking, but my mom passed away when I was 7 years old because of alcohol. And I've had two brothers pass from addiction, alcohol. And so, with having to grow up without a mother, with not understanding how to show love to other people, because that's one of the defenses that you have. One of the walls that you build is learning how to just hold feeling inside, learning how to not not knowing how to be affectionate. You just don't.
Yeah, the compassion
Yeah, you
behind that.
understand that because you never had that, or it was gone at a young age, and so I had to learn how to do that with people, with other people, with my children, with my first daughter. I had to learn how to be affectionate. It came, I loved her, but I didn't, in the
You didn't
very
know how to show her.
exactly, I didn't know how to show her. And so, but it was something I had to learn. And then with the alcoholism, with the way that I communicated, I had a lot of anger inside of me because that's what I was taught when I was young. I was taught that to tell someone you're mad, you yell at them, you
Yeah, you
threaten,
yell, fight, hit,
you fight.
scream, cuss.
Yeah, that
You channel your energy that way. That's love. And then when we get that when we're older, it's just like, oh, that's normal. I know they love me.
exactly. And that's something that I learned too. And not only was it my partner, he's a wonderful guy. I have to say that he's a wonderful dad. But I brought a lot of that toxic behaviors, mentality, learned behaviors into the relationship.
I'm
And
glad you recognize that.
yeah, and what I realized is I took ownership of myself. I took accountability for my actions. And then I started to understand that this is the way that historical trauma works. It's cyclic.
Yeah.
And it
How
was,
it passes itself on. I
yeah.
totally agree.
Then there's another shift where you have to change. You have to learn how to change that also. Not the addiction. I got past that, made a decision I wasn't going to do that, but then it was the decision that I was going to be a better person. I was going to be a better woman. I was going to be a better mother. I was going to be a better person than what I grew up with, because I know that it takes 4 generations to heal. And if I make that decision now, my kids are going to be better human beings, and then their kids are going to be even
Even
more,
better. Yeah.
yeah, more empowered, more healed, more, more healed within themselves. And so I made that decision that I was going to be a better person.
So you went from drinking a shot here and there or every day to drinking a bottle, becoming totally trashed. And then that night you just said, I'm not doing this crap anymore.
Yeah.
And then boom, is that when your Hozho Wellness was created?
No, actually, so then I started practicing, getting deep into my practice and practicing, putting my energy there. Well, I moved. My brother is a psychiatrist, MD, here in Gallup, and he had just finished his residency at GIMC, and he asked me to come create his business for him, to be the director. And I said, yes, I will come down there. So I moved. Me and the kids moved down here. Total shift, right? But I started building his practice. It was really difficult on the kids because you go from the city to Gallup, New Mexico, and then for my own self, it was a transition. But it really pushed me in a lot of different ways, and it was hard. But I loved that I was, and my children. I loved the idea that my children were also closer to where my mother grew up. She's just south, like 20 miles south from Gallup, is where she grew up. My dad's from Shanto, Arizona. But being close to the res, being close to our people, being close to the tradition, being close to the culture, to the land, and being more connected. I loved that. And when I did
It
that,
grounded you, it
it,
sounded like. So you just dove into from city life to living on living on your land or where your people are from. And yeah, just that total shift.
yeah. And then I started getting involved in ceremony. I started getting involved more into ceremony, and pushing myself in that way. And it provided so much connection for me and so much, um, I guess, ideas. And then as I was doing this, I was actually co-owner of the first hot yoga studio here in Gallup, New Mexico. It's called Four Corners Yoga. And I was co-owner of that. We started doing a schedule, classes. We made it hot, But then I decided that my purpose was more geared towards serving my people. And I wanted to incorporate all these teachings that I've learned and who I was in my story and create something that was more driven towards healing our people. And that's when I created HTW. It's definitely been a journey for sure. And it's been, there's a point when I was homeless. I was homeless and I had to
Were
go
you
in.
homeless by yourself or with your kids?
I was home by this time my kids had moved to Farmington because Gallup's a little bit more, they grow up fast here and it's a little bit more hard. And so we moved them to Farmington with their dad, and I came back here to Gallup. It's only 2 hours away. And then I had a falling out with my brother, actually. And I didn't want to mention that because I don't want to put him in the spotlight. But I had a falling out with him and with his wife, um, because I was in love with a woman, basically. And I didn't meet
Aren't
that.
we all?
Yeah, right. And so I fell in love with a woman, and they didn't like it because they had this perception or this expectation of me, my older brother. And I literally went from making a lot of money to nothing, living in my car, me and her. And it was really just that moment where I hit rock bottom, and I had to pull myself out and say, you know what, it doesn't matter. I don't need your money. I don't need, what you give me. I can do this on my own.
Wow.
I
So
hate her.
that did that destroy like the relationship that you had with your family at that point?
I did not talk to my family for 2 years, and I did not speak to them. They did not speak to me. It was a very just no contact type of situation. And I also, you know, because I felt shame, because, when you come out when you realize that you love like the same sex, it's also a process for yourself. Like you have to come to terms with that, your own self, and accept it, right?
Yeah, that
And
this is what you're going to do publicly. And
yeah,
at some point in time you're like, I don't give a crap. I don't care what people think because nobody's paying my bills.
yeah,
Nobody's housing me. Nobody's in charge of my future. This is just who I am and this is what's going to make me happy or
yeah,
is making me happy.
yeah. And we literally lived in my car, and then we moved to Albuquerque, got an apartment. I started teaching yoga. But this is the thing, is that even though I was open with the family, I told them first I wasn't open publicly. And so for 4 years, I never spoke about my relationship. I never spoke about me being in a relationship with a woman.
Wow.
Never spoke about that. And from that, it created a lot of tension, a lot of angst, a lot of you feel like you're keeping a secret, and it makes the other partner feel insecure. It makes them feel
Like,
invalidated.
why are you hiding me?
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a growing process for us also. I recently just came out with my relationship with Robin literally like 2 months ago on social media.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yay.
thank you. So I'll tell you, like,
Robin, whoever you are, congratulations, girl.
yeah. And so it definitely, by releasing that, shifted so much for me inside. I have nothing to hide. You know what I mean? I don't have anything to be ashamed of. This is who I am. This is who I love. This is my life. And, you can either take it or you can leave it. Like you said, I'm not for everyone.
Yeah. Grow with me or don't
Yeah.
or unfollow.
Yeah.
Simple
Click
as
follow
that.
at any time. But everyone was really supportive, and I should say everybody was really supportive. Now my family is not, I wouldn't say like supportive, but they're not angry either. They'd rather have me in their life than to not have me in their life.
They're
And
happy, you're happy. I'm happy, you're happy.
yeah, yeah, and it's also, that whole experience taught me, like, no matter how much somebody loves you or you think people love you, things can always shift at a moment. You know what I mean?
In a
Things-
heartbeat.
Yeah,
You think
in a
somebody
heart.
has your back and they don't.
Yeah, exactly. It taught me a lot about people, human nature, and also who I want to be. And I just never want to be that hateful person or somebody that creates resistance for somebody else. I just want to be able to be that facilitator of helping people,
And
and
you are.
no
And you're
judgment.
doing the work. Yeah, you're doing the work, no judgment, and people can learn by your story.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad to share it, and I'm glad that you have this platform for me to share it also. So hopefully it helps somebody.
It will. I'm pretty sure it's going to reach somebody that needs to hear this.
Yeah, I mean, people thought like I was, you know, um, a heterosexual female, and that I was, and my own self, I thought I was going to marry, I was looking for a man. He may have children, fine, but, and living that, that life, man and wife. But this completely came at an angle and hit me hard. And when I, yeah,
You went in the direction that your heart allowed you to go to.
yeah, yeah. So it was a process for me to accept. It was a process for everyone to accept. It was a process for letting those walls down and standing in my truth.
I love it. Stand in your power is exactly what you said, and those words resonate.
Yes, stand in your power, stand in your truth. Because if you just tell the truth about who you are and what's going on, people have no choice other than to accept and reject you. That's it. But you see where they stand, how they stand, and what they're willing to do. And most of the time, people are willing to stand by you, support you, love you.
When you're
And
genuine.
yep, exactly.
And I'm glad that you shared that story with me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I kind of also wanted to talk about your next steps, your journey, because I follow you. You're holding your own uh, yoga certification class.
Yeah,
Tell
so
us about that.
it's
That's exciting.
I know, and that's what I have to say, is that the growth that I've had through my own journey and through this struggling with this skin condition is that I it took me to a different level of leadership, another level that I wanted to obtain. And so I created the Indigenous Yoga Teacher Training. And these are all the concepts that I talk about, that we talked about earlier, is how it correlates with Native American philosophy, and then also India, Western, India yoga philosophy. Also the mind, the body connection, energy. But I wanted to create teachers so we can get more out there to heal their communities. So the first Indigenous yoga teacher training is happening on the Fort Mojave Reservation, and it's going to start in October, from October 2nd until the 21st. And it's going to be all day, intensive, really a journey and experience while you're learning how to teach yoga. So it's internal, external, and then also learning how to be a leader, learning how to teach, learning how to give direction in these asanas.
So from your illness, you created a school for
Yeah.
Indigenous people. Is it Indigenous only or anybody? Who can go to this?
Indigenous is really a broad
Okay.
is what I found.
Are you
So
trying to incorporate or like get this incorporated into different tribes or have them,
yeah,
I
so
guess what I'm trying to say is like put this out there so different members from different tribes can come in this space and learn this and take it back to their wellness
yeah, and that's
programs.
exactly, yes. And so I'm focused on more Native Americans, Indigenous people, more true to what Indigenous is what my focus is. Tribal members, and that's I feel like that makes it exclusive and a little bit more special because, again, like we have these teachings, this different way of thinking because we innately know that we're connected to Mother Earth, that there's a creator.
Yeah,
And
we're from the land and when
yeah,
we hold on one second. We utilize all of that.
yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I'm focused on tribal people. I'm focused on Native Americans because this is an indigenous yoga movement. I'm keeping the core indigenous. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. And I'm glad that you are the one to be able to bring this to light. I
I'm
mean,
so,
there's nobody better that especially that I follow that should start this movement. And
yeah,
every and all tribes should incorporate this into their wellness programs
yeah,
uh, because it's not invasive. I mean, anybody can do it.
anybody can,
Young, old,
yes,
anybody.
anybody can practice yoga. This is true. And I always tell my students, like, you got to think of your body when you're 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. You don't want to be in a wheelchair or not being able to move. You want to maintain your muscles, your flexibility into old age. So it's proactive thinking, and it's a holistic medicine also for the mind, body, and spirit. And so that's the concept that I try to incorporate also into my teachings with yoga. So yeah, but we not only have the yoga teacher training, but I'm also coming out with a yoga tank line.
And
Um,
what's that entail?
well, that's going to be just tank tops with different graphics on it.
Your logo, or do you have different like concepts in mind?
It's more indigenous driven, so I don't want to give out too much information. It's more indigenous driven, but yes, the logo will be on the back for sure. And then also Indigenous Yoga Day 2020 LA in LA. So I am collaborating with Race and Yoga, and we are
And what's that, or who is that?
Race and Yoga is actually like an academic yoga publication, and we I invited Tria Watka, Dr. Tria Watka, to International Yoga Day in 2017. We hosted it in Monument Valley, and she came, and she's a great, wonderful person, a yogi, and we collaborated and decided to come up with Indigenous Yoga Day LA 2020, and that poster will be coming out like by next week to start promoting it. But it's going to be a full day of yoga taught by Indigenous yoga teachers. And it's going to be, priced at like $25 a person, which is so wonderful because it comes with a lunch. But it's the idea is to bring natives together, indigenous people together, and reconnect to themselves and seeing other natives practice and being able to have that confidence and opening up those doors for different people also.
And where will we be able to find this information?
Well, our website is coming up soon, so we're working on a website, and then also on Instagram, Facebook.
Okay. So your two main platforms there. Do you ever think that you'll be starting like a Instagram TV, the IGTV?
Yeah, actually, that's where I want to be a little bit more interactive with my audience, is being able to start the IGTV and just going more into letting people see who I am, who HTW is, and being able to see the personality and the human behind HTW. And so we're working with that, and then also we are planning different things. We have a YouTube, which is Indigenous Yoga by HTW, Hozho Total Wellness, and we will start posting up videos within the next month or so. I haven't really launched that yet officially, but I did launch the YouTube platform.
Yeah, I checked that out. And one of the things that I really loved about it is one of the videos, it was like a 40-second clip that I found, is that you were actually teaching in a Hogan.
Oh yes, yes. So that's another thing is that
So tell us about what that is like in that sacred space.
oh, it's so beautiful. It's such an experience. I put on Hogan Yoga for one day. I did 2 sessions just to kind of experiment with it. And it was beautiful. The setting, the music, the yoga, the people who showed up, it creates an environment. It creates an energy that's just really a deep connection with our teachings, with Mother Earth. And it was so wonderful, so beautiful. And I'm going to do more of those Hogan yogas. I just need to set up a schedule probably by September and October. And I'll probably do it September, October, maybe November, but it gets kind of cold. So, but definitely for next summer, I will be doing hot Hogan yoga. But my
Yeah, I was just gonna say that would be awesome if it's cold, but inside you do like a hot Bikram type of yoga setting. That would definitely turn it up.
Yeah, and that's what we did is we just put a lot of fire or wood in the fire, and we made it hot as best as we could. But I'm learning, so I'm gonna make it even more hot by some different ways of changing the heat, and that would be really awesome. So I'm working on that, and then also I'm working on an Indigenous Yoga Tour 2020. So what that is I actually purchased a teepee and I'm going to host yoga classes with whoever wants to join, whatever Indigenous teachers want to join, and offer yoga classes on different reservations in the teepee.
Wow, that is an awesome idea.
Yeah,
Traveling Indigenous yoga goddess. Look
yeah,
at you. You're
yeah,
doing some amazing things. You have so many things lined up. You're definitely busy. And I hope that you I hope that everything that you're working towards is, will pay off in the future as far as like make your message reaching that, that one person that needs it or those thousands of people that need this in their life. And hopefully this totally changes how they view things, their body, their mind, and
yeah.
just their outlook.
Yeah, and that's the whole goal is just to create awareness, consciousness, and going back to the basics. Again, when I go back to social media, or even just life today, is that we are expected to be, we're expected to be on our phones. We're expected to create this platform. We're expected to respond to that text right away, that email, that phone call. Our lives have to be as fast as technology is, right?
It's
Um,
always an immediate response that everybody wants, but sometimes we just need to take ourselves away from that.
Exactly. And then we think about our ancestors, and they, didn't have that extra stress on them, and they reconnected through just living, just being. And sometimes we just have to go back to the basics.
That's awesome. And so you have your traveling yoga TP, you have your indigenous certification yoga class school that you have going on. You have your IGTV, your both of your social medias as far as like Facebook and Instagram, and then your new logo. So you're just extremely busy.
I am busy, and a lot of this is in the works of planning, getting it done, and just I have so many ideas and so many things that I want to do. But I do have some great people also that are helping me and that are working with this, helping me to move this forward. I do want to mention too is that I created Indigenous Yoga Instructors Association, IYIA. And then I created it into two of my most trusted yogi friends and friends are now co-founders. So we're all co-founders of IYIA. And so we're
And
working on that.
and is that who is going to be helping you with the 2020 project?
Yeah, Dr. Tria Watka, and then also Anita Lara Beckler. So Anita helped me with IYD. She was the director for HTW for a while. And so we are collaborating and creating a platform for IYIA, Indigenous Yoga Instructors Association, which will be a list of different teachers, also grants, funding opportunities that are available out there, different things to help individuals with their yoga practice and their yoga journey. Yeah, it's really about holding space and standing in your power and just talking from your heart, and your spirit and what your work is, and that really was you're able to connect to people energetically that way. And I absolutely love a shout out to Native Women Lead. They're definitely doing some great work out there. I made some great connections. In fact, I met Joni Romero, who is the owner of Cornpall Consulting, who did the logo and who is helping me brand HTW. And she's amazing also. And um, different people within, and Native Business Magazine, a shout out to them also.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I was mentioned as one of the top 50 entrepreneurs. Yeah, that was awesome. I was super excited. So yeah, I mean, it definitely a lot of great connections, and so Native Women League is doing some great work out there. I'm so thankful for that opportunity.
Well, thank you, Haley, for spending time with me today, sharing your journey and sharing all of your upcoming ventures. It is going to be an amazing year for you, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you. I really appreciate you contacting me and being able to be part of this also. And I want to thank you for your work. I want to thank you for,
Oh, I appreciate you.
yeah, stepping aside and allowing the spotlight to highlight other people who are doing great things out there in Indian country. And that's so powerful. I mean, it's definitely, so inspiring to hear about your work also. So thank you for that.
Yeah, though there will be more to come. I'm barely learning and I'm barely on my own journey as well. So starting that out, and I can only get better.
You have a great podcast voice. I want to let you know that.
Thank you. It's because I'm sick. No.
It
No.
was
Well,
nice talking to you.
yeah, I totally appreciate you. So thank you for joining me on Rezzilient with the Indigenous Yoga goddess herself, Haley Laughter of Hozho Total Wellness. You can find her on Instagram, Facebook, and see all of her upcoming ventures that she has going on for herself. Uh, so thank you. This podcast is brought to you by Quetzon Media Inc. Together, we are planting a seed that will start a movement amongst Quetzon people and every Indigenous individual. You can find us on Facebook at Quetzon Media Inc. or follow me on the gram at Rezzilient or at Miss49. Until next time.
There were people here, and these people that lived here basically, there were many cultures and many languages, but they were the people of this land base. And almost universally within this concept, they always referred to themselves in their own languages or culture as the people, human beings. But that was always a part of the self-identification, the identification of self, the people. And the Europeans came and they refused to recognize us as the people. They called us Indian.